Okay, hello there. And today we are back with a little bit of different version here. We always do the battle reports here, but today I was thinking I wanted to talk a little bit about the situation about the Saurian agents and like do sort of uh, sort of a how what would you call it? How do you open this? Google Docs. Yeah, I wanted to do some sort of brainstorm, if you like. Hey, is it not for free anymore, Google Docs? Or am I missing something? Google Workspace, is that different from Google Docs? Okay, never mind. I guess it was different. Okay, yeah, I wanted to just do like a brainstorm here to talk about. See, I think the Saurian ancient army seems to having a few troubles here. I think one of the big offenders is the ability to not being able to build particularly interesting armies. They seem very locked in what they have to build, and the builds do not seem to be very plentiful. There's a lot of dead entries. There's a lot of fixed entries. There's a lot of, if I go this, I must go. If I go A, I must also go B, and there seems to be a lack of roads to take for the Saurian Ancient here. And I'll be honest, I haven't really thought about anything before making this video here, so it might be a little bit of spontaneous, randomly. But I think no ideas are probably some are bad ideas are probably better than no ideas, right? At least that's the philosophy. Sorry. Oh, got some water in my throat here. Yeah. So what? So let's just take a look here. What sort of happened since the book came out? We went into Alpha 1, and it was fairly popular. A lot of special rules, some rules we've never seen before. I mean, they had these combined units, which was sort of the theme of the book, where you could combine like no gods, no kings. We can all be together in the same units. We can combine each other. Like it was like a big blend of being a mixed, not a blend, but it was like a blending machine of all kind of things that made, at least for me, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since Alpha 1 has been out, but if I remember correctly, I thought it was pretty fun to build lists. There was one problem, if you want to call it a problem. There was this fact that if you build one unit and put another unit into it, you pay double points to have one unit, which obviously took away some interest from the army, which made the army maybe a little bit small. So at the end of the day, these combined units, where maybe you couldn't utilize them as much as I at least personally would have liked to, because they were really expensive. Secondly, some of them seem to be broken, and some of them seem to generate a lot of questions about the rules. And at least personally, I found it a little bit sad that the lab team was so quick to take it down, despite a little bit of complaints on the forum about not really being able to understand the rules completely, and they were maybe a little bit badly worded or something. In any case, in Alpha 2 they take them away, right? So in Alpha 1 we also had the I think that was the biggest change, right? So they took away these combined units here, which was sort of really special things for the unit here. And to compensate that, they buffed some other things, right? They threw out a whole bunch of buffs, basically. So the Tego Guards got buff, if I remember correctly, and the Terracootis was in a very strong state. And you had the Alchemy Arrows, which was also in a decent state, which worked kind of due to a little bit of bad wording, generated some strong Terracooctus, and I'm not really sure what made the army, and obviously you had the hereditary spells, that gave you both plus -1 to hit and wound at the same time, which was obviously really strong. Which I think was like the biggest problem, or the biggest OP, or the biggest problem generating things about the Alpha 2, which performed way above average, the best performing book for the period of Alpha 2, right? And I think, and this is why we had the KOE being insanely oppressive, why we had Skaven being oppressive. I think Sylvan Alpha was good as well, but in any case, it was a really strong book. But I think it boils down to the hereditary was insanely strong, and some people believe also the Terracooctus was insanely strong. But I also think the Tego Gods was strong, and you had your Frog, you had your Anorak with the 2+ automatic 2+ to cast, with his really strong spells, right? So personally, I think magic was probably the biggest problem, and then you had some funny interest that might have been a little bit needed to be tweaked a little bit to make them less interesting, right? But overall, I don't think maybe I don't. And then if we move on to Alpha 3, right? They got excessively nerfed. The Terracooctus, as an example, took 6 nerfs in one round. That was a lot of nerfs. And then they took a lot of the inspiring things out of the army here, right? So you saw a lot of all the special rules they had. They sort of disappeared. They didn't quite disappear in the version 3, right? We lost the alchemy era, so you no longer have the ability to go strength 4 on your shooting attacks, or you no longer had any ability to combine it with the Terracooctus. And generally, we just saw a lot of nerfs all over. We saw an increase in chameleon skinks, so now you had to bring 8 of these guys, and we saw a general point increase above the whole for the whole army. Alpha 3 wasn't really as much as a design change as it was just a lot of nerfs. And then you saw the Alpha 4 coming in here, right? And now they changed the God. They changed. Oh yeah, we also made the Chameleon Bound, right? Which was also changed. And the old days, the Enclave Wizard was also able to channel in the normal core units was able to channel, and we had the Present was changed. We lost Lootstone. Lootstone was changed. Marking Lure was changed to Hatred. So if you just like take a look at the start of how the book looked at the beginning, no gods, no kings haven't been changed. Okay, let me just instead of the whining here, I'm trying to be constructive here. So let's just go through every single rule here. I might come with some comments here and there about my my desire to go back I'm not saying we should go back to Alpha 2, but maybe Alpha 1 was one I personally thought we should try and develop Alpha 1 into an interesting book and not move away from it. Anyway, no gods, no kings. I understand there's something to do with the background, and I guess that's fair enough. I would love to see a BSB, a veteran, BSB veteran. It could be on foot, it could be anything, and maybe it could be like no gods, no kings, but it could have like, he could be like have some sort of special thing, like the Cruxigors, they sing the flutes, right, and people go crazy. I mean, like, so the veterans could have something else where they could sing but they could do something else with music, and then maybe boost your unit or whatever. I think maybe there's something that could happen here. So let me just suggestions. Let me just try and type it down. Suggestions for no God, no kings. Actually, I think it's fine. Yeah, because I think it's actually fine. And if it's fluff wise, people think it's what needs to be, then I don't have any problem here. I think it seems fine. The Cayman Mentos. So basically, these Cayman Mentos, they're 95 points for strength 6 and 4 wounds, resilience 4, armor 4, and close to 100 points. I mean, you already pay a decent amount of points for these guys here, right? And then on top of that, you're not allowed to have more units of Cayman Elders. When you pick one Cayman Mentos, you lose the entry of Cayman Elders, which is a shame because you need the Cayman Elders to build an interesting mage build, or at least you don't need them, but you could potentially need them, or at least they would generate possibilities. It would generate an extra road for you to choose when you build an army, right? So if, let's say, you wanted to build an army with no Anorak, then now if you choose to have no Anorak, then maybe you would want to play double Cayman Elders because they offer 4 spells and the spell selection is fine. So maybe you wanted to do that. But then you have to cross off the list of having Cayman Mentors in your Saurian warriors. Obviously, I can see there's gonna be balancing issues, but I don't think neither of these interests are too strong to necessarily have to exclude each other. So personally, I think that's an unnecessary wall to build here to limit your army construction here. So let me just put it in here. Cayman Mentors shouldn't count towards your special Cayman Elders max entry. Okay. That seems fair enough. That seems fair. Maybe it's not fair, but I think that's not necessarily. And potentially, you know what? If that's too strong, then take away the -1 to hit. I mean, I can just take away, just put Caymans in there, and then they're just regular Caymans. If people want to hit them, you can hit them. Doesn't necessarily allow characters, enemy characters to hit them. Yeah, just nerf them in that way, make them less strong, and allow. So I think the theme here I'm gonna try to have is a theme that's gonna be focusing on increase the build variety of the army, and if that has to make the units weaker, then that seems fine to me. It's about, I've been playing a lot of orcs and goblins lately, and I must say, personally, I have only played orcs because I'm not really interested in goblins. I like orcs, and the build possibility, the build paths you can take for the new orc book just seems endless. It just seems like there's so many parameters you can turn on and off to differentiate your army from a previous army, and it's honestly amazing. And I'm not sure what has made the book to be like that, but I'm gonna try and, with my feelings, try and aim for the same as that. So here we have one here, Cayman Mentors here with and let's just put here for reasons here. Reasons. It allows you to increase your building paths. Let's just call it building paths. I'm not really sure if it increases your building paths, right? Because now you can build 2. We don't have to write that. Increase your building paths. I guess that's pretty obvious. Which is nice. I think that's that's reasonable. So Cayman Elders X, right? So I'm not going to talk about the regular Cayman, the young Caymans, because I think it's fine. I think the Cayman, because you can use them in your core unit, which makes an interesting choice. Do you want to fill out your core choices with extra good units, like say Cayman young Caymans are decently good, right? So you have the choice to buff your skink through core points, or you can go the other way to Terracuctus to give them that extra buff. But if you're gonna give them that extra buff, you're gonna have to choose to use your special points. And this is an interesting choice. This generated an interesting path, I think. So I think I like that. I like the young Cayman Mentors. So the Chameleon, the unit gains ambush, hard target, and scout. I think totally fine. It seems like yeah, that's just the unit. Chameleon bound. I think it works like it went through various alteration here, but I think there's not really. This is again a flavor fluffy kind of rule, and I think it's fine. It doesn't seem OP. It doesn't seem too right in the current iteration here. It generates some interesting choices, right? So as you if you want to maximize your leadership, you can consider taking the veteran or maybe a raptor rider, so you can have a flank with leadership 8, like say combined with striker packs or something else, right? So your striker packs is only leadership 6, so then you can consider taking something that can increase their leadership. I saw an interesting ETC list with it was the Polish Championship, and I think it was the guy who ended up second. He played one young Cayman Elders with 20 skinks, and I haven't seen his games, but I think the idea was that he also played a unit of 3 striker packs. And I think the idea was to place the young Caymans and the small unit of skinks next to his striker pack, so they will have leadership 7 in case something happens. And while I think I like that idea, while I like this synergy with each other, I think it generates a general problem here, right? So if you don't want to have your 600 point, let's say if you bring 3 striker packs, if you don't want to have your 600 point striker packs units to run array from a single panic check on leadership 6, then you have to further invest points into it. So let's just take the skink unit here. The skink unit combined with the Cayman Elders, what's this, close to 200 points. So now you suddenly have 800 points to make a 3 striker packs works properly. And I mean, they do not work properly if they don't get leadership 7 at least. So you know what? That leads me actually to say Chameleon skinks could have insignificance. We should add how do you spell it? Insignificant. Because this will allow reason here. So we go with reason here again. Reason. This will allow strong flanking units to work more independently from the leadership bubble, right? Because do you spell it like this? I think like this, whatever. Yeah, so I think you wanna help these big guys here with a little bit of leadership here. I mean, they have an incredibly low leadership. I understand there was some sort of discussion in the lab, not the lab, but the guidelines for the book was that the leadership should be decreased for this army here. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of the pricing has been calculated with the high cold-blooded, and which they are absolutely not. I mean, leadership 6 cold-blooded is probably uh, equivalent to 8, I think. Equivalent to 8 or so. So I think, which is bad, right? But I think if you give the chameleon skinks insignificant, then it will help a little bit with your flanking. In fact, let's just make skinks insignificant. In fact, let's make skinks insignificant. I don't know if it fluff-wise works. I'm not totally into the law, and maybe there's something like skinks has as much value as other beings on this planet here, so we cannot make them worth less. But I think it would generate, it would increase your build path, and you wouldn't have to bring things that brings leadership to the table to help your flank as much. Like I mean, like you could still give them insignificant, but your flank units will still be subjugated to having to take panic checks sometimes. Like you could, if you receive enough moons to take panic checks, that's one way to, like, you just take away one very easy panic check button, which I think it's nice. Take away the chameleon skinks, because you always start running with chameleon skinks, and they always end up being I mean, when you only have one chameleon skink after that one fireball, then you're going to be using him as chaff, and he's going to be chaffing, and then you might have to come into a situation where you have to put some of your strong units within 6 inches of that unit, and then they run away due to the chaff here, right? And I can see the other argument is that, yeah, it generates another tactical hindrance, and generates some tactical maneuver for you that you have to be outside of 6 inches of your skinks. But yeah, like there's arguments both and for, but I think it will increase build variety if skinks didn't generate panics. Let's just go with that. Enclave Wizard, I love it. I think it's awesome. I think obviously I think they hit a really nice spot here with the Enclave Wizards here, with some interesting spells or all over, all kind of special units here. I think we could talk about the Pedalon Riders. Maybe, like, say, I know it sounds crazy, but I think we could maybe consider giving the first Enclave Wizard for free to them. I don't know. That's something I've been thinking about. Anyway, just the rule itself, Enclave Wizard. Personally, I think we should be able to go to 4. It gives one extra health point, and that's it. Buff it. Let your champion be 4 health points. Let its champion be 5 health points if it's an elder. I mean, it's awesome. It's good fluff, and it's only 1 extra wound. Doesn't do too much. Anyway, doesn't do too much either. That it doesn't have it anyway. Yeah. In any case, I think it's a nice rule. I think it's a very nice rule. Pack Hunter. Yeah, I mean, there's like this complexity budget, right? Which I haven't mentioned, and I get it, the idea that it's kind of fluffy, right? But I mean, if it seems like, and it's a nice small rule, maybe if it could be a little bit more impactful. I think it's stronger rules with fewer rules. I think that works better for basically all armies. I also think that's the case for the KOE. If they could have stronger rules but fewer rules, I think I would be appreciated for that at least. So we have this Pack Hunter here. I think, if I were to remove 1 rule or 2 rules, I think this Pack Hunter, they changed it, right? They buffed it a little bit, so now you can actually use it sometimes. I'm gonna leave it out. I'm gonna call it. Say it's fine. It it adds something to the complexity budget, but I mean it generates some fun things, and it doesn't really do much to your build path or anything like that. So let's keep it here. So here the present here. So here's one of these big walls we're gonna be hitting here. So presence forces you into a specific play style, right? And I think some people has mentioned in the forum that is not being paid off appropriately. So if you bring one unit with present with the present marker, right, and you have then you don't have to invest so much into, say, marking lures, right? Because you only have one unit, so you only have to mark whatever it's in front of that unit, right? But if, let's say, if you bring 9 present units, you suddenly also have to make a great investment into marking lures, which come back to the point I made before with the combined units at the Alpha 1 version, right? Where you had to, if you wanted one interesting unit, you have to pay double the price. And the same was the case with the Cayman, not the Cayman Mentis, but with your Striker packs, with your low leadership, big strong units, where you needed someone else to babysit them. Again, you have this double combination here. You need to combine them to make them work properly. And I get it, like no gods, no kings. You have this symphonized mind, hive kind of mind, right? So we need to work together. But the problem is that it generates double point. It takes double points every time you do it. So the list variety just plummets. So I think, as I said, this is what I want to focus on. So the present here and how to fix it. I personally think give them hatred. That's a good thing. Nerf it so it's not too strong, so it doesn't affect too much the price from having it and not having it. And I think hatred seems like a good middle ground. It could also be like +2 to movement. It could be something else. But it should then, on the other hand, it should be much easier to apply. So say all units that come with presence should be allowed to pick a unit, an opponent unit from the beginning of the game, and then you could just max out. You could say max present can max be you can max place 3 presence markers at any time of the game. You can max have, or at least you can max have 3 present markers at the beginning of the game, or you could say 2, whatever makes sense for balance, right? It doesn't matter, but you can place your presence marker at the start of the game, and then you can, if you're gonna be investing massively into this here, and with the limit of how many presence you can place at the beginning of games, you're gonna need marking lures. So if you wanna build a completely all-out present army, yeah, then you're gonna have to combine two bones to make it a body. And I think that's fine. If you want to go all out on that, that's gotta be starting coming weakness as further you build on this same sort of how to say, like you're gonna have to pay more and more points for the same effect as the more you pick the same effect. So I think if you just have access to so let me just put it into words here. Bring back presence. Bring back the pre-game token. Allow all units with present to be able to place a token at the beginning of the game. Token, how do you spell? Is that wrong? Oh, token, let's just go. No, that's correct. That don't matter. Reason and then limit the max tokens you can place at the beginning of the game. My suggestion would be 2. I think 2 is good. 2, not 3, but 2. Reason this increases building paths due to the fact that you can now omit either skink champions or marking lure units. Yeah. And let's see what's next. So the video is getting long. I'm probably going to be doing like several videos here. I'll just take it slowly here, but let's just take as much. It's probably going to be, I'm probably going to cut it about an hour. I think an hour seems fine, 45 minutes, something like that. So the next we have here is and bring back tokens and alternative also seconds further align streamline it with infernal dwarfs mechanics how do you spell that? It's probably something like that. So every time because you cannot, because you get hatred, right? So we're gonna delete that. I mean, that was also on the second path, that you every time you attack a unit with a present, you consume the present token, and then you get to reroll. And if you apply another present token, then you would get to reroll again. But I think, sure. Hatred is fine. And however, it does open up for the fact that you could go for the your hereditary could work with, say, it allows you to place present tokens, and it gives, like, it could be like something like give one of your unit present and place a present token on a given unit. I mean, that seems nice and strong, good, and in line, sort of streamlined with a lot of other armies, hereditary spells, like the high elf spells. Like, it helps it's like kind of fluffy, where you have these really expensive elves, and then you have your spells to help them stay alive. And if you have the infernal dwarves, right, you can apply your you can apply your flask, you can apply your fire to a unit, and then you get a free fire token, right? And if you take the high elves, like they have like these, if you're in the forest, we buff you up. So it's like thematic, like, so each army has their themes, and then the hereditary try to enforce that theme, try to emphasize that theme. And I think, like, if you could incorporate something with the hereditary spell into the theme of the army here, such as presence, then I think it would be more interesting than the current hereditary spell. Yeah, I'm not gonna write anything, but that's a consideration. So the next one here we're gonna be looking at is the loot stone, which completely disappeared. Beautiful, interesting concept. And sort of what made the Saurian Ancients, like, sort of what made them stick out, which made them interesting, make them stand out from other things, right? So you had this army here that was really good against elite armies, and not elite armies, but elite armor armies, right? So you had these good high armor saves, which usually high armored units don't have too much AP usually, and then you were better at hitting them, and then usually they also don't have too much weapon skill, so you didn't lose too much in that account either. And usually they don't have too much resilience either, and you have strength 4 as a basic, right? So it was sort of like a combination of many things that allowed Saurian Ancient to be strong against elite armies. And now when you remove the loot stone here, it was one of the things that made the army become much more blend or vanilla. Like, it's lost a lot of flavor here, and I understand it was too strong apparently. Like, I can see why you go with the innovation there, and then you suddenly start hitting people on 2+, which is probably too good. I think, however, like, maybe you could make by loot stone always makes you hit last, and then that seems maybe like a fix to it. Or maybe loot stone is just supposed to be gone, but I just think then they should have something else. I want to increase building paths, and I also want to go back a little bit to the roots of the book, the original plans with the book here. And I feel loot stone was a cornerstone of the idea for this book, right? It was the idea to be like magnetic, like the idea that these old ancient weapons here was sort of a little bit magnetic, a little bit metallic. How I don't know how to explain it, but that was sort of the thing. It was like magnetic, right? And then you take it away, and then you lost a lot of fluff. It was probably the most fluffy rule they had, right? And I think, like, bring back the loot stone here, and instead of giving you 1+ to hit, I think it should just be maybe AP1. An AP1, if you're hitting an armor with armor 3 or more, you gain 1+ AP. Doesn't seem too strong, doesn't seem bad, and it do emphasize your special ability to take down hard armored units. I mean, so if you go with spears on your Tiger warriors, then you're suddenly AP 4 on the charts. I mean, like, suddenly they are like really good at what they're supposed to. And so let me just bring back, but change +1 to hit to +1 AP armor penetration 100 spell. That's beautiful. And reason it's fluffy. This rule is probably the most fluffy rule the army book has, and it's a shame to see it disappear. So a good compromise is making it less strong, but more thematical, right? Thematic. So it's like works good against high armor, right? Seems fine. Seems like a nice idea. So marking lure, I think this is just a nice rule. I don't think that should be done anything. I think it's just be kept as the way it is. It generates some interesting choices when you want to build your shooting units. Do you want to take marking lure, or do you not want to take marking lure here? Oh, I forgot to touch upon this, right? So shooting attacks. It's just actually, I think shooting attacks should just shooting attack. Let's shooting attack. Loose stone shooting. Bluestone shooting. Don't do anything about it. Seems fine. I think it seems fine. It's a fluffy rule, and if we are to have some rules, I think this is a nice rule. Predator senses, again hatred. Yes, as I mentioned, we could potentially. I mean, you could potentially change it, right? To be more alike. Instead of hatred, you get reroll to hit, and then you can apply these markers, which disappears after they have been applied one time. And I mean, then you could have, like, maybe you could imagine swarms. They would apply a token by combat attacks, and then you could imagine the marking lures by shooting. You could apply them by shooting, and then like you could have like these two different ways of being able to apply markers, both combat and range. And I think that could be an interesting option. But yeah. So we have the armory here, blowpipes. Yeah, I think blowpipes are just fine. Magnetic short bows, Qualifier Lootstone. Yeah, I think it's just fine. I think they should have, normal skinks should have access to magnetic short bows, and as long as it's 0 to 25, I don't think it's a problem, and I think it will generate an interesting choice to actually bring the alchemy arrow. Right, for right now there's no interest in bringing the alchemy arrow. If you bring it in a unit of chameleon skinks, right, then you don't want to be bringing it in a small unit of chameleon skinks, because then it sort of seems like a waste to pay 50 points to increase 8 shot with 1 strength. So you want to have like a big unit. Maybe you want to bring 15 of these guys here. You want to max out on it, and then now you suddenly have like a 450 point unit with like 19 strength 4 shot, hitting on 4s or 5s or whatever. It suddenly becomes really expensive to not do really expensive things. Yeah, so I think give the normal skink hunters access to magnetic short bows, and you will see a nice mix, I think, of let me just actually put it here. I think you will see a nice. I don't necessarily think people will max out on magnetic short bows, because you take away the quick to fire, and you take away volley fire. You take away the fact that you take away. You don't allow them to stand as you don't allow them to stand and shoot, or maybe it should just be skink braves that can take it. So skink braves. So now you don't have. Now you don't have the light troops, so you can't march and shoot, right? So now it's just like a more static shooting, like a small goblin, like a little bit better than goblins, but still like a shooting. Okay, so here, let me actually. I think that I like that idea. Magnetic short bow, allow it to be taken by skink braves for an extra something, for an extra 2 points or something. And then add a limit to say max 30 shooting units in core. So let's just say you can have a maximum of 30 shooting units in core. So it means if you bring 25 skink braves with this magnetic bows, then you cannot bring skink hunters. So if you want to bring a unit of skink hunters, which is the smaller units is of 12, right? Then you can only bring 30. Then you can, if you have allowance to have 30 shooting units, then you can only bring 18 of these shooting units here, which I think it's an interesting Here's another. There's another interesting how you wanna which gauge you wanna pull up and which gauge you wanna pull down. But at the end, you have the choice to do both. I like that. I like that. Poison javelins. Again. In general, poison javelins, they are fine. They are fine, but make shooting weapons max 30 from core. So you can max 30 bows from cores. I think that's it. Maybe if it's too strong, you just make it 25. Doesn't matter. Alright, so here we have another one, another thematical weapon, tooth and claws, close combat weapons, +1 attacks. I mean, and you lost life, you gain lightning reflexes, you lost lethal strike. I mean, tooth and claws has been nerfed pretty substantially, right? And it has anti-synergy with your support attacks, and it's just kind of a mess. I think the idea of tooth and claws is nice, and I think like just make it a two-hand weapon and give it lightning reflexes, and that's it. Make it a paired weapon with lightning reflexes. Which is basically yes, right? Yeah, you know what? I think just allow the units to take paired weapons and delete this tooth and claws. And then if we delete tooth and claws, then we could start looking. Then I think we are softening. We at least, and we could also delete pack hunter, and then we could maybe build up a sort of a budget, complexity budget here. So now if we remove 2 rules, then maybe we can add something. Maybe add a new unit, or maybe add some new items or something, and then we take away these special rules here, but which I think could just easily be replaced by paired weapons. Remove rule, replace all choices with paired weapons, or alternatively allow Tego warriors and Tego guards to pick tooth and claws. And leave the rule as it is right now. Yeah, okay, so I think if you gave the Tego warriors and the Tego guys tooth and claws, and then you leave the rule as it is now, then you would have an interesting set of builds, right? You could now you suddenly have Tego warriors, which can go hand, weapon, and shield, or spears, or tooth and claws. And I mean, obviously, tooth and claws combined with a terror cook chest seems pretty nice. But I mean, at the end of the day, a Tego warrior unit with paired weapons, is that really that strong? I mean, sure, they have 3 attack each, but they're gonna be weapon skill 4, armor 5, strength 4. I mean, it's not fantastic. I mean, it's nice and good, but it's far from fantastic, right? And oh yeah, and then you probably have to delete lightning reflexes, right? Yeah, so just remove the rule here. Replace all choice with paired weapons, and allow Tego warriors and Tego guards to be allowed Tego guards, Tego warriors to pick pair weapons. Yes, let's go with that. Okay, so we're reaching 50 minutes here for the video here, so I think now we looked at all the first special rules here, and that was about 50 minutes here, so I'm in for a bigger project here. I agree. So let me just call it here, and then we can look at the hereditary spells and special items here. I also have some suggestions for special items. I have some things we think we could look at. Yes, but I will stop it here, and hopefully I can keep it going. And I know there's another guy on the forum called Sony 186, I think, or 1886 or something similar to that, and he's also doing suggestions, and I hope we can all get into the room and bring a lot of suggestions out here to try and bring back an interesting book here, because it's not that I don't think that the Saurian Ancient book is probably not as weak as people say it is. I think the army is still probably strong. It's just that it lacks interesting things. I think it's a little bit too vanilla right now. So that's where, as I mentioned, that's what I'm gonna try to be having my focus on here. So anyway, I will stop here, and hopefully I can bring the part 2 fairly soon.